Trump's campaign manager now facing charges for allegedly grabbing a female reporter at a rally. Is this a trumped-up charge, or could this mean serious trouble for the Trump camp? Things on the high court getting supremely complicated, get it? Cases ending up in ties and the politics all tied up in knots. We will take a look at that and where this mess is headed. Then the NFL ordering the New York Times to retract its story about the concussion controversy. We spoke with the reporter who wrote the piece, and he's sticking by it. Our panel of attorneys will weigh in. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Now, more drama and controversy in the Trump camp. What's new? This time after his campaign manager charged with battery. Tonight, Donald Trump is standing by his embattled campaign manager.
And I know it'd be very easy for me to discard people. I don't discard people. I stay with people.
After police released that new video taken from an overhead security camera at Trump's own golf club. There's Trump making his way through the crowd. Reporter Michelle Fields by his side in the light-colored jacket. Campaign manager Corey Lewandowski right behind them. Watch as Fields tries to ask a question. Lewandowski moves forward, appearing to grab her and pull her back away from Trump. Look closer as Lewandowski reaches for the reporter, gripping her arm.
I felt someone pull me from behind. I caught myself and fall to the floor. I mean, it felt like it was a huge force, like the person was trying to get me on the ground.
The campaign manager called Fields delusional and insisted that he never touched her, that he never even met her. And shortly after the incident, Trump himself seemed to agree.
But the Secret Service was surrounding everybody. They said nothing happened. Everybody said nothing happened. Perhaps he made the story up. I think that's what happened.
But yesterday, that security video led the Jupiter, Florida Police Department to charge Lewandowski with battery, saying it shows he grabbed Fields' left arm against her will. But Lewandowski is more than a campaign manager. He is almost always right at Trump's side.
Corey, good job, Corey. Good job.
He's also been seen going into crowds to shut down protesters. Video shot by CNN in Tucson appears to show him grabbing a protester. Again, he denied it. And through it all, Trump has stood by him. Yesterday calling Lewandowski, quote, a very decent man.
Corey's a fine person. She was actually, if you look at her, my book, and according to a lot of people, she's grabbing at me. And he's acting as an intermediary and trying to block her from doing that. If you look at that tape, he was very, very seriously maligned, and I think it's very unfair.
Outside Trump's event last night, new tensions. A 15-year-old protester was pepper sprayed as she clashed with Trump supporters. All right, let's get to our panel here. And then there were three. Jimmy Katsouras. Jim's a criminal defense attorney in Manhattan. He sits on the board of directors of the New York City Criminal Bar Association, also frequently lecturing at New York Law School and the bar associations in Queens and New York City. Doug Van Oys, founding partner of Carson Van Oys, focusing on corporate misconduct, selected by the Legal 500 as one of the most influential trial lawyers in the country. And both of these guys, former ADAs themselves. Listen, I've heard a lot of TV lawyers say, you know, this is a joke, there's nothing here. And then the next person comes on and said, there's a lot more to this than usually you get to prosecute with. You got video, you have everything else. You know, the cops, they have a case if they want to make it. Where do you fall on it?
If you look at the video, you see his body movement. It does look like he's getting her out of the way. By definition, under statute in Florida, battery is any non-consensual touching. If this were not a guy who seems to rough up protesters and a guy who seems to get physical with people on the campaign trail, I don't know that he would even be prosecuted or that it would go anywhere. But he does seem to get physical. Would this be happening if it were not on the Trump campaign trail? I really don't know. I mean, he really does look like he's getting her out of the way. And our human definition of battery is you're hitting somebody, you're striking somebody.
I thought it'd be worse until I saw it. Doug, does it matter that she waited 3 days to say it? And then the contention that she had to ready herself so she wouldn't fall over doesn't seem to be borne out by the video. But conversely, Lewandowski is full of it. He said he never met her, never saw her before in his life, never touched her. The video certainly doesn't seem to support that. And also, as we saw right there in that clip, this isn't the first time he's put hands on somebody at a rally. And certainly we know what's happened at certain of the Trump rallies.
Well, he's an ex-police officer, right? I mean, he's a trooper. That's the reason he's there, isn't it? He's there as security for Donald Trump.
He's actually his campaign manager.
And and the fact of the matter is, the fact that he said he didn't know her, it really bears out his story. If he said, yeah, I remember the incident very well, then something would have taken place. Right. He's saying nothing happened. And if you look at the video, it doesn't look like anything happened. And she's saying she fell over. Of course that's going to play into it. It doesn't look like she almost fell over.
Jimmy's right. The legal definition is unwanted touching. Okay, that's what battery constitutes in Florida. From a real thing, go back to an earlier life when you guys were ADAs. If something like this came across your desk, would you have said, are you kidding me?
Well, it's always the squeaky wheel gets the oil, right? So somebody went in there and they really wanted to make a thing of it. Sometimes, you know, it becomes a thing. But the reality is, when you say unwanted touching, you know, when you go out in public, if you're walking past somebody and they jostle you, that's an unwanted touching. The fact that she's out at a campaign rally with people, she's trying to get interviews, she's leaning, you know, at a certain point she's inviting contact of some sort. I mean, when you talk about this, so.
I mean, what if it was security? What if it was Secret Service that went and just, you know, kind of got in between her and Trump?
But I can't believe we're talking about this so much. But getting in between somebody is a little different than grabbing somebody and yanking them back. Now, let's be generous and say that's even what happened here. There's a distinction with the difference. But let me make this a bigger picture. We saw what happened at the end to that young girl, 15-year-old girl,
right.
goes
That's a different
speak
story.
out against. There has been an environment that's been created, and we could spend all night here as to who created it and how it got there. Is it a manifestation of the times, or is he basically, you know, poured accelerant here on a fire and then keeps poking it, stoking that fire at everything? If somebody eventually gets really hurt at these things, we've already seen guys getting beaten, right? What culpability does the candidate, I'm not talking morally here or politically, I'm talking legally. If you create the environment where this happens, and you knowingly understand that language from the podium, prior events, threats that have been made, events that have had to be shut down because of violence, at what point is there any, I'll start with you on the legal, and then I'll come to you for the civil, in terms of the criminal, the civil. If somebody gets really hurt at one of these things, God forbid, if not worse, what kind of exposure is there for the campaign and the candidate?
Well, if the candidate is inciting the violence by not only inviting it but asking that it be done
Well,
in
what
the
if
event.
he says, which he has said, throw him out, get him out of here, right? You know, and you're lucky I don't get to you first. Is that incitement?
It's a fine line. You're getting very close to the line. I don't think saying get him out of here is going to incite violence. I don't think that there's criminal liability up until now for the campaign or for Mr. Trump in particular.
How about offering to pay legal fees for people who do beat up other people?
Well, you know something? Companies pay legal fees. Well, paying legal fees for somebody's defense when they're charged with something. Look, I'm not a defender of Mr. Trump, but there is something to be said for loyalty. They work for him. On the other hand, if it's very clear...
I'm talking about somebody attending a rally that he has no relationship with. Person clearly commits an assault, right? And then saying, hey, you know what, I'm going to pay for that. Does that send a message criminally the next time somebody gets beat up that he's created a pattern?
Absolutely. I thought you meant one of the people that were working for him.
No, I'm just talking about
I mean, when you see a blatant assault by somebody that supports you or somebody who doesn't support you and you offer to pay legal fees, basically the message you're sending, I'm here for
Have
you.
at it.
Do
Yep.
what you need to do, commit whatever assault you want to commit, and I'll pay your legal expenses. It's reprehensible in a presidential race, as is much of what's
going on.
going
On the civil side. If I go there and I hold up a sign, you know, down with Trump and whatever else, and I get pummeled in the crowd, okay? Do I have not only a criminal case against people who committed allegedly assault against me, but against the candidate here for creating the environment, which this is not an unknown possibility. In fact, there'd be precedent, I could argue, that it's happened before, but I'm yet exercising my First Amendment right. Do I have a case where Trump could have some exposure?
Well, I didn't like the term creating the environment. If somebody says clearly, throw him out of here, and they work for Trump, and they grab him and literally throw him, and something happens to him, it's foreseeable.
What about somebody else?
I mean, listen,
A Trump supporter
if it's
just
foreseeable,
decides-
if you're at a baseball game, and there's somebody in the announcing booth saying, there's a fan from the other team, get him, I mean, there's going to be liability. That's foreseeable that something could happen. It's all foreseeableness. I mean, that's what you really got to look at in a case like this.
All right, now we're starting to see more fallout from the Republicans' refusal to consider the president's Supreme Court nominee. When we come back, I'll talk to a Washington Post reporter who covers the Supreme Court, and we'll hear what the very latest is out of D.C.